What's up, wrestling fans? Welcome to the Wrestle Report, episode 36 with Phil and Don. I am Phil.
And I'm Don.
Happy early Thanksgiving to everybody out there. We got plenty of shows to talk about. We're going to catch up on AEW Full Gear that me and Don actually got to watch together. And then Don actually was able to go to the NXT tapings last weekend, so he's going to give his experience there. And we'll have to end on a sour note, but we will talk about Survivor Series. I'm not happy about it, but I feel like we need to at least discuss it. But yeah, let's start with what we're a little late to the party on, and that's Full Gear. We watched the whole thing. We're actually in the same room, which is the first time since like WrestleMania. I think that's been the case. We planned to review it right after, but like I didn't factor in how many beers we were going to have that day, so it would not have been a very coherent review. Whereas I hope this will be at least slightly more coherent. But let's start from the beginning. The MVP is the stream that I found. Normally, I'm totally fine ordering pay-per-views and stuff, but normally I have a lot of people over. It was just me and Don. Luckily, I was able to find a stream that worked perfectly through the whole thing. So that's when you knew right off the bat it was going to be a good night.
Oh yeah.
So I guess we'll start right at the beginning. We opened the show with Darby Allin and MJF, which I was a little surprised about. I thought we'd open with like the Cody tag match or just something to ease it into it. But it's funny that they did it this way because, in my opinion, this ended up being the match of the night just right off the bat.
100%, man. I thought the same thing. I thought it was a great match, and I called it. I don't know if you remember, but I called it during the match. The ending, how it was gonna end. Because if you was watching the match, you could see MJF was messing around with his trunk a lot. So like I knew that he probably had the ring possibly in his trunks, and that was the ending. That was the finish.
Which you did mention that, and that was a good eye by you, definitely. And it was a little strange because like obviously normally Wardlow would hand it to him, and he wasn't at ringside, so I get that. But with stuff like that, it's usually like in your boot or your knee pad. I don't know why he chose the tights for whatever, but whatever, it worked. But no, just a fantastic match overall.
Oh yeah, and man, great match.
It was hard to top. Like to go straight from that into something else was definitely a challenge. But and then what's even better on Dynamite the next week, they showed a promo that he cut like immediately after the match, which made it awesome too. And he kind of hinted at where he's going next. We'll bring that up later. But this was definitely the right call. I think the way it happened too, I do think it will lead to what I kind of thought it might go. We might get a rematch with like him and Wardlow or him and Spears against Darby and Sting. He'll sort of get his win back. It'll probably be Sting beating Spears or something, but they might keep that going for a little bit. But we obviously know MJF looks like he's in a feud with CM Punk next, which is going to be very interesting. It's something we definitely wanted, but I don't think we knew we were going to get it this soon. Yeah. It's the first, Kingston, which we'll talk about in a minute. Punk and Kingston was his first real like blood feud, not just like, hey, this guy's young and upcoming and I want to wrestle him. This, Kingston was the first one like that. And now that he's moving into MJF, that's going to be very interesting. I don't know if they're going to try to drag this out for a while, which they could do because they could just cut promos on each other back and forth and they can go like 2-3 months before they even touch if they worked it right.
Yeah, because I think the next pay-per-view doesn't start until February, right?
Yeah, it'll be February. We do have Dynamite moves to TBS January, first week of January. So that'll be a big show.
I could see them doing it there too.
And then, and they're doing Winter is Coming too in February, just on Dynamite. So they, there's things in between pay-per-views that they could do it for sure. AEW isn't one of those that they have to save every good match for a pay-per-view, but this is one that, I could see doing that. But they could, put him against Wardlow, put him against Spears, make him work his way to MJF or something. But just this match was great. And the best part about it is it doesn't hurt Darby at all. Like, I don't feel that he lost any credit. It reminds me a lot, Double or Nothing during the pandemic, they did basically the same story with MJF and Jungle Boy. And MJF just pulled it out, and it didn't hurt Jungle Boy. If anything, it elevated him to another level. Darby's already at that level because he's been TNT champion and everything. But I thought both guys, came out. They were better when this match was over than when it began.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like you said, stole the show, match of the night. Mm-hmm. It was definitely. I felt bad for the next match because I was still hot for this match.
Yeah, there's not many times to catch your breath in this show, and I guess we'll try and point out the ones that there is. But yeah, immediately after this, AEW Tag Team Title match, Lucha Bros and FTR. This was a great match with a very odd ending. But, in hindsight, that's the one positive to doing a review like this a week later. We've kind of learned the story about this. They tried to do the, put the masks on and unpin the legal guy or whatever, but I guess, and I forget which one it was, and it doesn't help that they're wearing masks. But one of the guys in FTR was kind of knocked loopy, so he never came out to do that other spot. And once they realized he was late, they just kind of went home on it. So really, good professional move by these guys. But like, if you take that finish out of it, the match itself was very good. It was very hard to top the MJF Darby Allin match, but it was a great, pickup. It just kept the momentum going. And if you can look, I remember when the ending happened, we both knew like something didn't go right at that moment. That was couldn't have been how they planned it, because it kind of just came to a stuttering stop there at the end. But the match itself was great. The ending, now that we know the issue, can kind of be forgiven.
Yeah. It was a good match. Yeah, like you said, it was a good match until the end. The end really took it out from me. But it was still a good match altogether. And then, like you said, where I'm happy that we know why it happened.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah, he was right. We were like, I don't think that was supposed to happen like that. And he's like a legal man, and it was weird.
Yeah, very weird. Good match though. I don't think this is the end for these guys. I don't think they're gonna have a third match like right away necessarily. But I think we'll get one down the line.
Supposedly they're going to go against each other again in AAA for the title.
That makes sense actually. And there was some rumor. So FTR haven't been on AAA TV since they've won the belts, and due to travel, they're gonna miss this set of tapings leading up to Triple Mania, but I think they're pretty much going to rematch in AAA for the AAA tag team titles or whatever. But I don't know I'm sure they'll reference that on AEW, because I assume that's when you give the belts back to the Lucha Bros now that AAA is kind of up and running and moving shows again. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure they'll reference it on AEW, but I don't know if we're going to get another one for the tag titles right away. But there's a couple, other guys that could easily go against the Lucha Bros in the meantime before you put them back in there. We know that a match between these two teams is always going to be good. You can kind of bust it out whenever you want. So if you want to, give it a little break, that was fine. But overall, very good match. It's extremely hard to follow that opener, but I think they did a solid job.
Oh, yeah.
Next match up was the AEW Eliminator Tournament final between Bryan Danielson and Miro. And this was better than I expected it to be, because I didn't know how these styles were going to blend together with the, Bryan Danielson being technical and Miro, not really being able to show that in the past. Bryan Danielson won. And at first I didn't like, as the match was going on, I think I even turned and said, I think I want Miro to win this, as this is like, as it was going on, it felt like that's where it was going to go. I did like the ending in the sense that they pretty much showed Miro kind of get knocked out by the DDT. So it was almost just like he caught him with one. He didn't really like overpower him in any way. And this really did make us think that, maybe Kenny is retaining and they're going to go right into that rematch, which maybe that's why they did it this way, to kind of swerve you for what you were going to get at the end. But overall, this was, as a match, was probably better than I expected it to be. And I really liked the psychology of the ending as well.
Yeah, I liked it too. I didn't really like the finish as much because I felt like they botched the DDT, because it looked like more of a swinging,
like a face plant almost.
Yeah.
Front face lock. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. He just fell. It looked like Bryan Danielson just fell down, and we should have played the game. Like how many times JR called Bryan Danielson Daniel Bryan.
We were talking about it, and it's like it's a super hard.
Yeah, it is
thing to, and I figured out the loophole too. Just call him Brian, because it works either way.
Yeah,
I think that's the key right there.
But yeah, the match was decent. Altogether, Miro got a lot of offense. Like, but yeah, Bryan Danielson still one of the greatest of all times.
Yeah, and this was what made this match interesting, and I think we touched on it before the pay-per-view was we never got to see this match really either. So it was a nice, just different, matchup that we had never seen with two guys that spent plenty of time in WWE, but never really crossed paths because by the time Miro was on his way up, it was during Danielson's kind of retirement phase too. So they never really, kind of like the Punk thing. If we ever get to see them, they kind of ships passing in the night. So this was cool that we at least got to see it. But yeah, Brian winning. I didn't love it at the time, but being a week removed and we see where they're going with it, it might have been the right move. And Miro can. I don't think this hurts Miro either. Like you said, Danielson, one of the best of all time. You can bounce back. It's only a second loss in the company.
Yep.
Next up was the Falls Count Anywhere match. This was fun for a while. I do feel that it went a little long, and I expected it went 22 minutes, which is actually which is as long as MJF and Darby was. 20 like exactly. Actually, if these seconds are correct, it went 20 seconds longer for what that's worth. But the Falls Count Anywhere was good. I was surprised the baby faces won because I predicted the heels to win, obviously. But the whole story they told was this pay-per-view wasn't good for the elite, so it's understandable the way they did it this way. And it was that whole like Jungle Boy didn't want to do the concerto, and he ended up doing it to win the match, and it was like a coming of age tale for Jungle Boy, which is not the story I thought they were telling until it was right in front of you. So from that, I can understand. You could have lobbed 6 minutes off of this, and I think I would have liked it more.
Same. I thought the same thing. It dragged a long time. I'm not a fan of the thumbtack spots, man. I'm not a fan of it. Especially the knee pads. Oh, V trigger with the spikes. Like, come on.
This the with them on the shoe and the super kick, I think works a little better. But yeah, when they did the V trigger to Luchasaurus, I'm like, okay, that's the end of the match. Like that makes sense. And the fact that you just like broke it up like it was a power bomb or something, like from that moment on, which is about the other 4 or 5 minutes that I'm talking about, it kind of took me out of it. Luchasaurus does the backflip off the stage, knocks everybody else out or whatever. It was fun for a fight. And the other thing, and we'll talk about it later, this was better than the other multi-man weapons match that we had. But to have two of them on the same show, luckily, they were smart enough to spread them out a little bit. There's like 3-4 matches between the two. So that was smart at least. But yeah, you didn't need two of the same style matches on the show. And I understand you want to get all these guys on the pay-per-view card. I understand that. But like, this was fine. This was okay. This almost could have main evented like the Go Home Dynamite. And I think we would have enjoyed it better.
Yep. Yeah. I feel the same way.
Yeah. Speaking of matches that could have main evented Dynamite, Cody Rhodes and Pac against Malachi Black and Andre. This was the first match that the crowd felt like they could breathe during, and they took their opportunity to do that and then boo Cody Rhodes afterwards. And there was some interesting, like, Pac went to tag Cody and he's like sitting out on the rail getting checked out by the doctor, and like I don't know if that was part of the story or just like I think a fatal 4-way between these 4 guys would be a much better match, which I think we'll get there. I think that's actually what's going to come next after this. But this was fine. It didn't really need to be here. It is like one of the shortest matches on the show. The match that is the shortest won't actually surprise you too much. But again, it's just you want all 4 of these guys. They are some of the bigger names in the company. You want them on the show. So I understand them doing this, but like when we get to the fatal 4-way, whenever that's going to happen, which I don't think there's been in AEW, by the way. I had that thought the other day. There's been 1 or 2 triple threats. Yeah. I don't know if there's been a fatal 4-way or not. Maybe 1 early on. But I think when we get to that, we're going to enjoy the same story just in a different way, because Pac and Cody have no real business teaming together. Andrade and Malachi don't either, but it makes a little more sense for whatever reason.
Well, because they both don't like Cody.
Yeah.
And Pac just doesn't like Andrade. I feel like that's the only reason why Pac is with Cody for this. This match, this was the bathroom break match. This was the if you smoke, this is the one that you go smoke one to this.
And Donovan did, by the way. So
this is when you really don't really care who wins or loses in this match. There was no real winner or loser. It was just funny to hear Cody Rhodes getting booed out the building, like always. It seems like
Yeah, like I didn't really care who won, but I knew they couldn't let Cody get the pin. Like
yeah,
Cody's
it
team
was
won.
definitely smart.
Cody's team won, but it was
Yeah,
like the last 2 minutes of the match was all Pac basically.
yeah, and
So
that was smart for having him win, and also smart. I really didn't want to see Andrade or Malachi lose though, or take the pin.
yeah,
I mean, this is one of the moments when I would have been okay with sometime with DQ. I would have been okay with it, just because I don't want to see neither one of them take a loss, or at least Cody gets pinned.
speaking of DQs, just because you brought this up, I don't know if you saw the statistic, but in this calendar year, I know since AEW's been around on TV, so it's going on 3 years, they've only had 2 DQ finishes, and in this year alone, WWE has had like 74 or 64 or one of the two. So they don't like to do DQ finishes. I am glad we didn't get like somebody walking out on the other, because that's too WWE for me. It's that can they coexist moment that we got plenty of at Survivor Series this week. But the match was fine. There's, again, we say this a lot with Cody matches. Like, there's nothing wrong with the match. It's just the crowd's not into it.
Yeah, they definitely seem like they went and got their beers during this time.
Yeah. And came up next was the women's title match, which this is where I thought we were going to make up time. We sort of did, because it was the shortest match up to this point of the show. I thought it was going to go 10 minutes. You thought it was going to go 15. He was right on the money. It was 15:24 according to this. But Britt Baker against Ty Conti. I didn't think Ty Conti was on the level of like needing a women's title match yet. But by the time the match was over, she seemed to be like, yeah, okay, I get it now. So like, it's another one of those, even though she lost, she looked better by the end of it than she did when it started. It seemed like a throwaway. We need Britt on the card to make a defense. And about halfway through the match, you felt like it was a worworthy opponent.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was always a fan of Ty Conti when she was with in NXT, because I thought she could always work. So I didn't have a problem with it. I knew that she was not going to win. I knew that. Britt Baker is still going to be the champion. The only person I could see taking it off for is Thunder Rosa, really.
Yeah.
So if you're not Thunder Rosa, that's it. Or unless one of these people that we talk about later possibly makes it over there and they do something.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as people on the roster right now, it's got to be Thunder Rosa. It might be 2, 3, 4, 5 months from now, but that's the only person I could see it being. Plus the TBS title's coming up, so you're gonna have girls going for that instead. So you won't, only the best of the best will even get to Britt, because you're gonna have that policeman, that policewoman, if you will. You got to have that other title that, like, if you can't beat this person, why do you think you should beat the other person? So yeah, if it's not, and they have unfinished business too with that lights out match that they had and everything. That kind of made Britt in the first place, even though she lost. The image of her with the blood on her face. She's been a made gal ever since. So that we need to have unfinished business there. Next up, which was like the match I was probably most looking forward to, in a sense that I didn't care who won. I just wanted to see it, which was Punk and Kingston. This was the shortest match on the card, and that surprised me at first. But the more I think about it, I'm not super surprised, because this was not a match. This was a fight. Because Kingston came out, went straight to the ring. Punk came out, no it's clobbering time, no jumping into the crowd, no ice cream bars, no nothing like that. It was all, it was straight to the point. And this was really great. I know going into it, I was like, I feel like Kingston has a solid chance to win this. Once it started, I didn't really have that feeling anymore. For whatever reason, that just kind of changed on me. But Kingston still looked great in this. Punk really brought him up to a level in the ring, because we love Eddie, but he's limited in the ring. He tells great stories, but he's not going to give you like a 5-star match. So I think Punk gave him the best in-ring match that he's probably had in a long time. And he does end up winning. He does go to shake his hand, kind of say, like, hey, I was wrong about you. You are the real deal. And he kind of storms off. So like, nothing's really resolved here. I'd love to see these guys get in the ring again down the line, but this was everything I wanted to be, all done in 11 minutes. It was fantastic.
Yeah, this was probably my second favorite match of the whole night. I thought it was really good. If this could have been the main event, If the other matches wasn't on, like if the title match wasn't on there. This could definitely main event a WWE pay-per-view by a long shot. They told a story. Eddie Kingston looked like a badass during that whole thing, and no one was everyone, both of them was over.
Yeah.
It didn't even matter. It didn't matter who took the pin, who didn't.
Punk even got some boos.
Yeah,
like he was on offense for too long. He got a little bit of boo. They wanted the back and forth the whole time. So that's the first time he got that since he's been there, you know?
Yeah. We'll see what happens. Yeah. What happens after that?
Yeah, him and Brian both seem to be on a similar. The honeymoon phase is coming to an end, I think, is what it is. Which that's basically what we're getting at here. So before the next match, which I don't think either of us are going to have much to say about. I think this is around the time in the show that it happened. They announced the newest signing for AEW, Black Machismo himself, Jay Lethal, which I jumped off the couch because there was no. To my knowledge, there was no rumors of this. There was no whispers, you know, and I absolutely love Jay Lethal. He's been Mr. Ring of Honor for the past 10 years or so. There was a point where he was like holding every belt in the company at the same time. And he was fantastic. And he challenged Sammy for the, now I remember this. It actually happened after this match because Sammy was all beat up from the match when he accepted the TNT. So I was off by one. But I love seeing him there. And just to touch real quick, I was fully prepared for him to win that TNT title because Sammy has the banged up ribs, which they really worked on the Dynamite match. And I thought it would have been a perfect out for Sammy to lose in this aspect and then, maybe even win it back later. It seemed like the perfect out for him if that injury is legitimate at all. Maybe it's just a work thing they're doing. But if he truly has any rib issue right now, would have been the perfect person to do it to. I was 5% upset that he didn't win this. But I'm interested to see where he goes next. And again, I guess I kind of did this out of order, but so happy to see Jay Lethal there. Don't know what he's going to do next, but I'm here for it.
Oh yeah, man. I wasn't really into Ring of Honor like that, like how you are. I've heard of Jay Lethal for the infamous woo off front with
even without the Ring of Honor stuff, his TNA stuff too. When
TNA stuff was is all out there. He's been wrestling for a while.
Oh yeah.
I would have loved him to be in WWE just to be a part of the Hurt business with Bobby Lashley and Cedric and Sheldon and MVP. Yeah. I think that would have been a perfect faction.
That would have showed you a different side of Jay Lethal too. He's never really had that mean streak, a little more so in Ring of Honor. But I have a weird relationship with Ring of Honor. Like the best stuff they do, I always find the cream rise to the top, as Macho Man would say. Like when something really good happens in Ring of Honor, I go out of my way to watch it later. I don't, keep up with stuff super often. But no, there was a point where he was the man. It reminded me a lot of like when ECW was about to close and Rhino was like the man, like there was no one that could touch him. When Ring of Honor was at its like least publicized point, Jay Lethal was doing everything for them. And he was their TV champion and world champion at the same time. And I think Adam Cole finally beat him for one of those, but I remember having both the belts at the same time for a good while, which is interesting. But yeah, I don't know what they do with Jay Lethal next. There's 1.5 million guys at that locker room that I'd like to see him wrestle. And he's the, if they're going to pick a couple guys off Ring of Honor, that I didn't even think of him because he's kind of been off TV for a little bit. Easily number 1 draft pick. And the number 2 draft pick was apparently backstage because the Briscoes were hanging out at this pay-per-view. So fingers crossed there.
It's gonna be great. You could just the matches to see that Jay Lethal could have with different people there. It's really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll talk about this street fight for a minute. This was fun for a little bit, I have to admit, but then it stopped being fun. And I don't know when it happened. Because like the table spot I thought was cool. Dos Santos seemed to be having fun. Where Arlovsky felt like, okay, I was supposed to go here, and then I was supposed to do this. Wait, what was next? Like he was like an actor on a set. Whereas Dos Santos, which he recently, I guess, is no longer even signed by the UFC. His MMA days are behind him. So who knows? Maybe he wants to make a second career of it. But he seemed to put forth the effort in this. I don't remember a whole lot of other things. Giant swanton from Sammy off the ladder was cool. Of course, you got to have Lambert take the pin, which was funny, of course. You totally decked out in the Brian Zane jumpsuit, too. That made me laugh. But again, this went 20 minutes. If it went 12, I think I would have to admit that I was wrong. But the fact that it went 20, it was everything I didn't want it to be by the end of it.
I did not like this at all. I don't like the extra props you got to use to win. With the toaster.
Yeah.
Really. And hell, I don't remember. There was a pie pan, a cake pan that was used too. Like what?
I think I've realized I only like weapons matches when it's like one-on-one. Because when it's multi-man, or especially in this case, like
we brought that up too. We brought that up. No, wait, was it this match or was it? I think it was this match.
I think so, yeah.
Because there was a point that there was tagging.
Yeah, they started out by tagging. and then I said, I'm like, just wait. All hell's gonna break loose, and then they're never gonna tag again, and that's exactly what happened.
I wasn't sure if it was this match or it was the other
elite match, yeah. But either way, it made more sense here because I think somebody finally got a hold of Dan Lambert, and then someone cut the guy off that was after Dan, and then it took off from there. But yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I did forget about that, but. No, these multi-man with weapons, because people are they're setting up the ladder over here and they're getting the trash can over here. And like, I would never want to be a cameraman for one of these. I know that. I would much rather, multi-man matches are one thing, but like when you got 10 guys like this. And honestly, this did also serve as a cool down. So there was energy for the main event. So when I look at it that way, like if you flipped these matches and you had Kingston and Punk right before the main event, I think it would have affected the main event energy level in the arena. So maybe that's why you do it the way you did it that way. I think you even could have, and again, you wanted to separate it from the other multi-man weapons match that you had. You had a street fight and a false count anywhere match. And to me, the only difference is apparently in street fight, you still had to pin somebody in the ring, I guess is the only difference.
No, the street fight. No, you're right. You're right. I'm thinking about two different things. That was the Jungle Boy in them fight match. Super
elite. Yeah. I think I mentioned this when we were watching it, but they should have made one of these, probably the first one. They should have made it elimination so they could like throw a dig at Survivor Series. I think that actually would have made more sense for the super elite match because they're only. When you pick the elite apart, they're vulnerable. So that actually would have worked out pretty well, I think. But street fight, it is what it was. It went too long. Definitely. Don't need pizza cutters. Don't need baking sheets. Dos Santos looked like he was having fun. I wouldn't hate if I hope this is over though, by the way. I don't want to see this anymore. Apparently, John Jones is going to grapple in some grapple promotion, Jake Hager, which is interesting.
Did you see the tweet that John Jones made?
No.
John Jones called Jake Hager a WWE superstar.
Oh, Jesus. Well, I don't know what this promotion is, but they clearly don't drug test. So I guess it's going to be pretty wide open whenever this does happen. We'll have to.
I think it's the bare knuckles. They just recently had an event.
Yeah. I mean, in the article I read, they mentioned it was like a grappling contest, but maybe they didn't really know what they were reporting on, maybe. But who knows? So we'll see more on that. Time for the main event, which, by the way, now that I say it that way, on Rampage, you know how Mark Henry interviews the people before and he says, now it's time for the main event. That's getting over, and the crowd is saying it. And I'm happy that, Mark has a thing like that now. Because, when you bring in a lot of these guys, it's what are they going to do? There's so many. You got Taz, you got JR, you got, all these announcers, Big Show. I like the spot they found for Mark Henry, and I'm glad his catchphrase is getting over. Just want to throw that out there.
Oh, but you know what? I was kind of shocked though, because didn't they say that he was going to be a commentator for them?
He did some on Dark, and he has done it. Yeah,
I know. On his first couple, he was there. and then I only see him during Rampage in the back.
I think the term they gave him was like analyst, so that could mean anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so now it is time for the main event. We got Hangman and Kenny finally for the title. We got the intro with Adam Page on the horse to the Target Center. We saw the Dark Order running into the arena. It was very cool. You could see where they blocked off the road, which is funny because it's like, where else in downtown Minneapolis is there going to be just an empty road? This is one of those this match was good. This match was borderline great, but sometimes it's about the match, sometimes it's about the moment, and this was much more about the moment. In the waning moments of the match, the Young Bucks come out and you don't know what they're going to do. They're not immediately trying to interfere, and when Adam Page is going for the buckshot, he looks at Matt because he could interfere. He just kind of nods and he's like, this is your moment. We're not going to fuck it up for you, basically. And he gets the win. And it was the pop that is 3 years in the making. So much has happened. It's before the pandemic, after the pandemic, all the guys they've signed. This is really, if AEW was a movie or a TV series, this would have been the end of season 1. If season 1 just happened to be 3 years, and it's glad that they didn't have to stray from it. They may have prolonged it a little bit with Adam Page having a baby, him and his wife and everything. They probably prolonged it a little bit. And I know we were talking, people have mentioned, oh, maybe Kenny needs to hang on to it a little bit longer and they do it all out. This was the time. I think if you didn't do it here, you were never going to get the full capacity of that moment. So Adam Page winning with the Dark Order coming out, and this part's been lost on some people. They go to hand him a beer, and he throws the beer away and just embraces the Dark Order, which I thought was fantastic. Like I said, I remember bits and pieces from this match, but the moment overshadows anything they actually did in the ring.
Yeah, man. You're right. I thought this was more of a moment, like you said, more instead of a match. The storytelling was great. The vignette was perfect. Because it basically showed his past, like leading up to this moment. So I thought that was pretty cool. And the small hints of with the Dark Order running into the arena and stuff. I thought that was pretty cool. I thought he was going to probably kick out the V trigger. I not the V trigger. The
One Wing Angel.
One Wing Angel, yeah. And then I thought it was pretty cool that he actually hit it on Kenny.
And Kenny never hit it. Yeah. Kenny never hit it, which was interesting. You still have that story. So whenever, and Kenny has also said he's had some surgeries that he's been putting off. So he's going to be off TV for a little bit. And when he comes back, he still has that nobody's ever kicked out of the One Wing Angel thing. He's actually vacated the AAA title. I think he was attempting to hang on till Triple Mania and drop the belt to whoever they have over there. But he apparently that's not even an option now. So it's vacated.
Yeah, because he had like 2 surgeries and stuff. Did you see his the chiropractic episode?
It pops up in my feed all the time. I haven't actually watched it, but yeah, it's
a good show. It's a good watch, I would say.
But I mean, Kenny, the belt collector, is officially no more. But what a run he had, really, that carried through the pandemic too, which shouldn't be understated, I don't think. Basically, half of his title reign was in front of like 1,000 people at shows that me and the guys were there at Double or Nothing when he won the title, and to see it was just under a year. Would have been kind of cool if they could have made, if this pay-per-view was like 2 weeks later or whatever, and that way he could say he was champion for a year. But he was like 246 days or something, so literally 2 weeks under or whatever it might have been. But just a great reign by him, and Hangman is going right into the thing with Daniel Bryan that they've started on Dynamite, which I thought was fantastic. And they're going with I'm going to kick in all the members of the Dark Order's heads in their hometown, which is definitely like a WWE dig because nobody ever gets to win in their hometown.
Yeah.
So he beat up. He's going to face Colt Cabana in Chicago, which obviously he's going to win. Like there's no chance Colt wins, obviously, but that's going to be fun. I think that's actually going to be a really fun match, Ring of Honor style match. Yeah. And Punk is going to squash QT on Dynamite too. So we have Punk and Cabana on the same show in Chicago. Never thought we'd ever see that again. I don't think there's going to be any interaction. I would love for there to be, but we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But just great show. Awesome. the moment that we all wanted finally came. Again, this is like season 1 of AEW, end scene, 3 years long. And it was great, just great pay-per-view. And they're already hitting the ground running on Dynamite, like you said, with the Daniel Bryan heel turn, maybe Punk, same thing. So they're not slowing down. Obviously, normally you kind of coast after a pay-per-view, but they pick stuff right up, and who knows where they're going to go from there. All right. So next thing we will bring up Survivor Series, but before we do, we'll talk about something that was a little more fun. Don actually got to go to the NXT taping last week. Don, floor is yours. How was that whole? Because I have not been certainly since it's been 2.0, but since they moved it to not Full Sail, I forget what they call it, but we used to go. We were regulars back in the taping days, but now that they're at their Capital Wrestling Center, there it is. Yeah. So take it away. How was that experience?
It wasn't bad, bro. It's basically, it looks big. It looks smaller there instead of on TV. On TV, it looks like it's massive, like a little bit bigger than it looks in person.
The old arena was like that too, really.
Yeah. I was sitting, let's say hard cam is facing this way. I was on the other side of the hard cam, right by the aisle. I enjoyed myself. I embarrassed myself. Fun fact: if you guys are gonna go to the CWC, make sure you wear pants that are not as tight, because there are steps to go upstairs and stuff. They're pretty big, and I tripped.
Oh no!
And I hurt myself big time. The staff was like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" It was like, "I'm good. I'm good." I'm just, if anything, I was more embarrassed than anything.
Yeah.
But it was great, man. We got to see 205 live. I got to see my baby, Kaden Carter.
Okay.
You know,
nice.
that was great. I just got to see Trick Williams and Mello. The one thing I would say was terrible was the poker skit because in the crowd you can't see the cards. We gotta look at the jumbotron to see what cards is dealt.
Yeah.
So I would say that was probably the biggest negative. And I thought it was funny because if you look at, well, they don't show it on TV, of course, but there's actually a guy that's like a hype man.
Oh, okay.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like if you look across, he actually rings the bell too. You look at the guy ringing the bell. He's also like during the match, like,
oh, okay, nice.
Just making to make everyone like pop and stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool.
And this was live, right? This isn't a taping setting anymore. So like, could you have your phone out? Because they used to be strict about.
I was recording.
Yeah, they used to not let you because it was tapings or whatever.
Yeah.
The worst thing about back in the day with taping style and everything, being there was you'd see a match, just out of the blue. Like you never saw any of the in-between stuff. You never got to see the promos because they probably didn't even record them yet, at the time of the matches. So you go to watch NXT. It was on the network still back then, back when we had the network in this country. But you'd watch the match or you see a promo. It's like, oh, that's why those guys were wrestling when we were there. Like there's a whole story behind it that we didn't even know. We just saw the aftermath of it, which is interesting. You almost had to go back and piece together. Like you got the effect. You had to go back and see the cause basically. But no, very cool that he got to go. I think you're going again tomorrow, right? Isn't that the case?
Yes, sir. I'll be there tomorrow to see the triple threat for the US title. A U.S. title, North American title.
Awesome. So we'll definitely be checking that out, and we'll have to report back. I'm going to attempt to get on this train with Donovan, maybe on one of the next couple showings or whatever, but definitely have stuff to report on that moving forward. Also, another thing I guess to mention, when I think of NXT 2.0, I still think of Hit Row, even though they got called up, and of course now they're released yet another wave of releases, and it's old, man, to talk about it. I didn't want to watch Survivor Series. I'll be honest, I did not watch the whole thing when the 4:00 NFL games ended and the other game didn't start till like 8:30. I basically watched the pre-show and the first match. I wanted to watch the Battle Royal because everyone knows that listens to the show. I'm a big Battle Royal guy. Apparently Omos won it, so I didn't really miss much. Right when the show started, when they did Nakamura and Priest, which, you know, that's a solid match anywhere in the world. When you put on the pre-show and it's only 10 minutes and it's a DQ win, I'm like, oh, they're gonna be in full effect tonight with the way they're I knew it right then. Becky Lynch and Charlotte was solid. That's the only match I watched fully. I jumped in and out on the men's, and that was solid. I was, you know, the 12-year-old in me was like, oh, Jeff's going to be the sole survivor. And then they crush your dreams and Rollins wins, which is probably the right call. Like, Jeff doesn't need to be, you know, at the stage he's in his career. But, like, again, he's my favorite wrestler. So, like, the 12-year-old in me was like, yeah, come on, do it. Which he's done before, actually. I think 2001 or 2, he was I think it was 1. He was a sole survivor. So he's been a sole survivor before in Survivor Series matches. But they had Kevin Owens walk out on Team Raw because last year Rollins walked out on Team SmackDown. He left Owens hanging. So that's the closest thing to long-term storytelling that WWE's done in a long time. Again, I love Battle Royals, but I'm glad I didn't watch this one just to see Omos win. And apparently this whole show was centered around The Rock. You know, it's 25th anniversary, his pay-per-view debut. Guess who didn't fucking show? The Rock. Like, this is I thought the Battle Royal, they called it The Rock's 25th anniversary Battle Royal. I thought he was going to show up. I thought he was going to win the thing just for the hell of it. Yeah. How weird was that? It's like having a surprise party for someone that never shows up.
Yeah, they basically The Rock basically ghosted them. That was pretty. I thought that was pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
I was the same way, man. I was hoping The Rock was going to show up. That was probably 75% of the reason why I watched.
Yeah.
It was hard to sit there and watch the whole thing. I think I told you before. I actually fell asleep during the 4:00 football games because my Dolphins won. Yeah. So I was able to go to sleep, and and then I woke up at like 9:00, and the show was where it started. I missed the Becky Lynch match. I missed the Raw's men's the men's Survivor elimination match.
Yeah, and
I got there right. I got right before the whole the Battle Royal.
Yeah,
and it's funny because they got sponsored by Pizza Hut. I thought that was pretty funny. I would have thought if it was gonna be The Rock, it would be some type of like pie or some shit, bro.
Yeah,
not no damn pizza.
And somebody made the joke, like, basically the you know, like when your work is really shitty at your job and they like throw a pizza party for the employees. That's the only thing they can ever think to do. They basically threw a pizza party for the wrestlers that are still there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then the freaking egg thing, man. Like, I guess that's from The Rock's new movie.
Yeah, that's the thing that they're trying, that Rock's trying to like get in that Red Nation, I think it's called.
So they basically, The Rock said, "Hey, plug my movie and I'll show up," and they didn't show up. Basically, I guess is what happened.
Yeah. I mean, I would have been okay with a video promo, you know, like coming live from Australia, because that's where he's reportedly at, shooting another movie. Of course, he is.
This will jog your memory a little bit because this was very early when we started this show, but when I think it was Bound for Glory last year, when they put Ken Shamrock in the Hall of Fame, The Rock put out a video.
Yep.
Because that was one of his first major like rivals for the like IC title and everything. So Bound for Glory got more response from The Rock than WWE Survivor Series.
Yep.
The only other thing that's worth mentioning on this show, I think, I know Big E lost the main event. Not that that's a huge surprise, but that Seinfeld gear that he had was pretty awesome. That stole the show for me.
That was nice. Yeah.
I think one other thing.
I actually like that match. I thought that the matches that I saw, I thought that was my favorite match of the night. I mean, the Arcade Bro one was decent.
Yeah. The other thing, like, again, not a terrible in-ring show, really. The biggest thing for me is, like, if you just want champion versus champions, make Night of Champions that, and then keep Survivor Series like the way it used to be.
Yep. This, I mean, with feuds and stuff, and you don't have to have champion versus champion for that. Yeah. But you know, they won't be able to call the one time Raw and SmackDown go against each other.
Yeah.
They won't be able to see that if they do that Night of Champions.
That's true. But no, this was clearly thrown together, and they didn't pay much mind to it, which is why we didn't either. Like I think between the both of us, we watched the whole show, but we watched different parts of it. Yeah. I guess. I mean, if there was anything else on, like, I jump back and forth because Steelers and Chargers were on or whatever, but like I don't know. There was no real reason to check this out. Luckily, we get a little break from WWE pay-per-views till next year, till January 1st. They have day one. I'm interested to see what kind of flavor they give that show because it's kind of a blank slate. So, we'll see what kind of vibe they give and everything, and that'll be interesting to see down the line. But other than that, guys, I think that's going to about wrap it up. Thank you guys for being with us. Don, have fun at the tapings tomorrow. Everybody enjoy NXT and Dynamite and Raw or SmackDown if that's your thing, because it's not ours anymore.
Whoa. I'm still gonna watch because it's wrestling. But I'm not gonna be like, oh, I gotta watch it now. I gotta flick it. I'm gonna flip channels.
Like Raw is on right now. I'm not watching it. I might put it on later, but I guess that's the difference. But whatever wrestling you do watch, enjoy it, and we will see you guys next time.